I appreciate that there are some very clever people in our industry who want to do the right thing, and they voluntarily put their time together to be able to move standards on and things like this. But we've got a bit of a malaise, a paralysis even, haven't we, in the industry at the moment? People seem... So on one side, people say, I'm not sure what to do, so I'm going to do nothing and wait. Yeah, that's not okay. Get with the programme, get with the picture. The horse has bolted. It's multi-layered, Chris, and like we talked about engagement before, we talked about communication. These things are not one thing that you do, and there's got to be these continuous improvement loops and feedback loops behind them. You need to challenge yourself. If you're working anywhere in the fire door industry, challenge yourself for what could you do better. Look at your systems, internally audit yourself to death. Sorry to be but find your gaps, be honest with yourself. Not to clump around too much, Chris, but I hear a lot of people thinking that the certification bodies are the policemen of manufacturers, installers, inspectors. It's for them to catch you out. Wow. What a cultural mindset needs to change there, yeah? Certification body is not the policeman. We are the policeman. So, maybe I'm getting into too much detail, but to give you an example, Chris, many certification schemes, they require a regular audit test of that product. Actually, in some parts, the time between an audit could be 5 years, yeah? A lot changes, doesn't it?
Almost meaningless, 5 years.
Well, and it's a really big problem if you've got to go after it. There's a massive population, isn't it, potentially on some terms, yeah? So you might have ticked the box from what third-party certification requires under that particular clause. You've done your test, fine. But actually, as a responsible manufacturer, as somebody that is accountable, for somebody that has got legal duties to make sure we manufacture these products right, am I going to rely on a 5-yearly test? So again, as I say, think about layers of safety net. We know disasters occur because all of those risks line up in that beautiful, rare occurrence, but that's what causes a disaster. So I think about our safety systems, our factory production control systems, like a series of safety nets, yeah? If something falls through your first safety net, you want to make sure that the next one's going to catch it, and you want to make sure the next one's going to catch it. So, Chris, when I went to another site and someone said to me, this fire door didn't arrive with any installation instructions, I can turn around and tell you it absolutely did, because I've got not just one safety net to make sure that those installation instructions go on that door, I've got lots of them. And by the way, I've got a digital golden thread of my own to be able to prove it. So it's not just about, it's legitimate, it's like, prove it.
Slight gear change then.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier about Regulation 10, which has been brought in recently to up the number of the requirement for inspection of doors, installed doors, fire doors. Assuming that gets implemented correctly, it should be effective. One would hope it's effective. I guess I'm really interested in your view of not that particularly, but any other codes of practice or regulations around fire doors that you'd like to change, you'd like to bring along new.
So, Chris, we have not got time for the full list of things that might be my personal opinion. But look, you raise a good point, yeah? Fire doors are not just about one document, one code of practice or whatever document we want to talk about. It's this holistic approach. And I can't look at these standards in isolation. So first point I'd like to make is you can't just pick up, and I'm going to just use ADB just as an example, but I can't just say, I'm looking at the tables in ADB and I think I need a 30-minute fire door. You need to know that entire context to it. So number one, there's a really big level of competency and holistic understanding to understand actually how all of these standards fit together. I'm going to quote someone a lot cleverer than I am now, if I may, but mainly because the words are probably better than I can express. But remember, building codes, they might make a building legal. Do they really make it safe? Yeah. So, Chris, I know I've gone slightly away from the subject of just a code of practice, but for me, the standards and the codes of practice and the guidance and the awareness, and it's a massive embroidered picture that has to work together with each other. you need that holistic understanding. But for me, are the documents and the standards that we deal with, I guess, is it my opinion that I think that they are fit for purpose now? No, I don't, Chris. The reality of it is updates to documents, they move at snail's pace. You've probably got even more experience than I have in those kind of forums. I'm desperate to move quickly. And frankly, Chris, it's not good for one person or one organisation to say, oh, well, we're gonna move ahead quickly. That's mean. Yeah. It might be meaningful for one organisation, but it's not going to be for the entire...
It's the industry that needs to change.
Absolutely. So collaboration, not that siloed sort of... There is still, I'm afraid, a siloed mentality. I think that, again, there's parts of the industry where collaboration and communication could really improve, and I hope that the momentum behind that to collaborate and actually bring through improvements to standards, to codes of practice, to... whether it just be best practice guidance which is out there, move quickly on it. Personally, I'm beyond frustrated at the speed that these things don't move. Yeah, I appreciate that there are some very clever people in our industry who want to do the right thing, and they voluntarily put their time together to be able to move standards on and things like this. But we've got a bit of a malaise, a paralysis even, haven't we, in the industry at the moment. People seem... So on one side, people say, I'm not sure what to do, so I'm going to do nothing and wait. Yeah, that's not okay. Get with the programme, get with the picture. The horse has bolted. Yeah.
In writing my questions, there's a few bits of words that I'd put, like, we can talk about the issues in the industry. You use the word malaise.
Lack of education.
All these
lack
things.
Of care,
and
lack of ethics.
We're painting a really bad picture. A picture that the fire door industry is in complete disarray, and it isn't. It's better than it's ever been. There's more products tested, there's more products certificated.
Yeah.
Installation's better than it's ever been. We're now getting a higher inspection regime for installed doors. Mm-hmm. So I think we're in a good place. Could we be in a better place?
I think, Chris, maybe we've got some foundation stones that are moving us towards that good place. And I accept that we are in a better place than I've ever known in my fire door lifetime. But we're moving towards that better place. And I think my point is I want that speed of change to be quicker.
Following the Grenfell Tower fire tragedy, competence has become a very much a buzzword, and rightly so. Clearly the construction industry, building industry, needed to move places. There were many levels in that and perhaps still are, that could improve themselves by getting more competent. I don't think I'm saying anything too controversial there. I think we recognise that. It's recognised by the government. I want to quote the Minister for Building Safety. He says, we need to ensure that those working in the building industry have the knowledge and confidence to properly engage with this new regime and make it a success. He's talking of a building safety regulatory regime. What he's said there, ensuring people properly engage, it's obviously easier to say than to address and to change. What do you think, thinking of the complex fire chain? So we've got the process of manufacture, supply, installation, maintenance, inspection. If you could change one, or maybe I'll allow you two things in that chain to address the competence issue, what would it be? And I know your company has an academy that contributes towards competence.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do.
And I see that happening in other places also. Competence is clearly an issue. Give me one, maximum two things.
One silver bullet, Chris, that's going to solve
There isn't one silver bullet.
There isn't, is there? And I think we've used that term before. There's no holy grail here. But so competence. Competence is many things. Qualifications, experience, training, all of these things coming together. There are some courses, some vehicles to give knowledge to people in the industry. So, Chris, you'll be aware, lots and lots of fire door installation courses come out, lots of fire door inspection courses. This is all really, really good. But one thing I'd sort of bring back to, so maybe if there's one thing, don't be complacent. You can't go on one course 10 years ago and think that you know everything, because things are going to change, products are going to change, installation methods might change, the type of building you're working on might change. You can't get complacent. So continuous learning, continuous improvement, isn't this where it's at? Like, don't be complacent. When you think about competency, no one is perfect, are they? Check yourself, document everything, and I would really say document everything, because as we talked about before, we talked about evidence. Well, prove it. It's not just Hannah sitting there saying, I did a course 10 years ago, Chris, that told me how to install a fire door, is it? I need to be able to prove it to you, and I need to prove you the experience, everything else that comes with it.